From the Ugly Parrot Studios in Newcastle, California, the Lim Cigar Cartel presents Beyond the Humidor, a cigar podcast for the rest of us. Hey everybody, welcome. This is episode 101 of Beyond the Humidor.
Yay!
Scott Robinson with you for another episode. Are you trying to cut me off at the pass because you think I'm going to give like an insane rant about something?
No, I give you a rant. I don't give a shit anymore.
Did you have a bad day, Greg?
No, my day was fine.
Okay. Because I have a suggestion. This is me being helpful. I want you to, you have an Android. You can do this on an Android. I want you to customize your alarm. And here's why I want you to play when you wake up in the morning. I want it to play the theme to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Because no one can be angry after hearing that.
You know that was my favorite program when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm trying to help him to have better days, Lawrence. Speaking of, how you doing?
I'm good, man.
Good. And, of course, behind the camera, we have the Gorilla. How you doing, Gorilla?
The Gorilla has spent the last 2.5 weeks listening to you fuckers on 2x speed pulling clips for the clip show. Please send professional help.
You have our sympathy.
Well, we're going to thank you for that, Gorilla. Also, Gorilla made my day today. I am his 4th favorite black person. I feel good about that.
One of.
Okay. We got him down to one of. First, I was number 2.
I don't have the heart to tell you 5th at this point.
5th is okay because I saw what was ahead of me and I understand. So, thank you, Gorilla.
Yeah, but currently, number 4 is Aunt Jemima.
Well, 6th. He's 6th.
Wow, keeps going down the list.
You keep reminding me of cooler black people.
Wow! Who doesn't like a fluffy waffle in the morning?
Yeah, I'm sure there's somebody out there.
Yeah, true.
If you're out there, please call in to Beyond the Humidor. Oh, God.
We don't do, this isn't alive. We don't do call-ins.
Hey, if they don't like waffles, they probably believe it's alive. Follow my thinking on that, huh?
So how's everybody recovered from our wonderful weekend?
Our weekend was good.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Had a good time.
Yeah, no, it was very good. We're going to get more into that, I believe, on the live tonight. So, which by the time you hear this recording will have been 2 weeks ago, but
Yeah.
God bless.
In an effort to be timely.
Yeah, we kind of screwed that up, didn't we?
That's okay.
So we are all smoking the same cigar this week. It was a gift.
Go ahead, continue.
The fuck do you mean, kinda?
Continue.
Did you fuck this up?
No, continue.
Oh, this prick. All right. So this cigar was a gift from a dear friend of ours, Mr. Brandon Overton of Apostate Cigars. This is one of 2 new releases for 2023 at PCA, and we are going to smoke through this and let you know what we think. Gregory, what is the official name of said stick here?
So this is the Apostate, the Zarahemla. It is in the Book of Mormon. Zarahemla is a large city located in the ancient Americas. This is the first box press cigar in their portfolio. It is a USA Pennsylvania broadleaf wrapper with a Cameroon binder and Dominican Republic and Mexican fillers. It's a 5.5 by 54 box press. Approximate MSRP is $13. The bundle of 12, $156, unless you live in one of the states with the ridiculous tax. It is a regular production, and we smoked it this weekend, and I got to say, Gorilla's in for a treat because this, he was threatening our lives about we need to smoke these sooner.
I've had these cigars for almost a month and a half now, and I keep getting told, oh, no, we're going to smoke them on the next episode. No, the next episode. No, the next episode.
To be clear, he was actually threatening Greg, not us.
Collateral damage.
So, I to get it to first impressions, because we all smoked it on our weekend to get a feel for it. I really like this cigar. It's one of my. In their line, it kind of moved into a new position for me because if I've got someone who's never tried an Apostate cigar before, and I want to get them into something, they're not a heavy cigar smoker. I think this one now becomes the front runner for. It's a beautiful, light, creamy, medium-bodied cigar. I think this would be perfect for a starter for somebody, and I'm willing to bet with coffee in the morning, it's dynamite.
Okay, our good friend Pat Walsh, I was talking to him the other day, and I got him into this cigar. He loved it, just for that reason, because he's not a big Maduro guy. He likes light to medium. This is so smooth and creamy. It's almost like a blank slate in a good way. So you can pair it with coffee. And Larry, what are we drinking right now?
We are drinking Redwood Empire bourbon, which was a birthday gift to me from our dear buddy Greg over there. It is a local Northern California produced bourbon. It is bottled in Sonoma County, California. This is my first time on this. I'd never even seen this bottle or heard of this. This is pretty smooth. It's a nice bourbon.
Yeah, I think it complements the cigar really well because, as I said, it's a blank slate. So the caramel notes on this really pairs up nicely.
Yeah, this the cigar's got kind of an earthy undertone to it. There's not a pepper. There's not a bite to it, but it's just a good, even, full flavor to it. I don't know how else to describe that. The first one we smoked over the weekend, I put a V cut on it, and I kind of goofed up the end of it a little bit. So I don't think I got as good a draw out of it as I'm getting on this. That one I was pairing with a beer, and that paired really well. And so far, this is going really good with a bourbon. I would be interested in having it with coffee in the morning, because like Scott said, I think it's pretty mild, pretty medium bodied. That you're not gonna overpower it or screw it up with just about anything you want to drink with it.
Right. How's it pairing with and I'm not being funny, I'm being absolutely serious, because a lot of folks out there don't drink. Cheers to you. How's it pairing with the iced tea?
So let's go back to Saturday for just a minute. When I was smoking it on Saturday, it was with the root beer from Lost Coast Brewery. With both either the tea or the root beer, neither overpowers the cigar. It doesn't necessarily complement the cigar, but it's not weird flavor. It's very neutral. The sweetness in both this being sweetened tea and the root beer did go well with the mellow flavors, and I kind of like that because, when we talk about all the different cigars, I was the light smoker in the group when I first started cigar smoking, 12 odd years ago, and this would be ideal. Now, when I move more to the medium to full side, as my smoking journey has progressed, it still has a great body. It still has a good flavor profile. And sometimes with a light cigar, I don't know about the two of you being more Maduro smokers than I am, you go to a light cigar and there's something missing because you're missing that flavor pop. This does not disappoint in that. There is a great flavor pop, very cedar, wood, outdoor kind of campfire, if you will, to it. So it really pairs well with just about anything you're going to drink.
So would you say that the root beer and or the iced tea were more of a palate cleanser type of thing, so than a pairing with the flavors?
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah, it's definitely be more of a palate cleanser, or just frankly something to drink while you're smoking it.
That's awesome.
It doesn't detract at all.
And the Gorilla has something even different. He's a Dr. Pepper guy most of the time. Are you getting anything weird?
Nothing too different. I would agree with all of Greg's notes. I agree with like the outdoorsy, campfire-y vibe. So, yeah.
Very well constructed cigar. and we talked about this a little bit over the weekend. If you've listened to a few episodes, you know that I'm not necessarily a box press guy all the time. My biggest hang up on box press, and this is going to be probably the reverse of what people were thinking. A lot.
Pause. You need to move your mic closer to you. You're cranked. I have you all the way up, and I'm getting you in and out.
All right. What I have trouble with sometimes with a box press is they're not packed tight enough. It's almost like they overcompensate for the fact that it's box pressed, and it ends up being kind of a spongy feel to the cigar, and you get kind of a funny burn on it. Initially, I would have thought that box pressing it would have packed it tighter and made it a harder draw, but that doesn't seem to be the case a lot of the times I've found. So that was just kind of one of my things that kind of kept me away from box press for a while. I have gotten more into them. I found more box press stuff that I liked, and this will be a regular rotation for me. I think this is a great cigar.
Oh, yeah, it's already in my rotation. I think I've had 2 of these since the time I first smoked it.
Well, and you know, the testament to the Apostate line with Brandon and Kendrick, out of all 6 of the cigars they've put out have been really killer cigars. Their construction's flawless. Their flavor profile's perfect. And they managed, at least for me, to do something that no one else ever has. And that's produce a candela that I actually enjoy smoking.
Yeah.
You know, and that's that Feathered Serpent.
You know, I got to revisit that one. I don't think I've had a Feathered Serpent in a while. Not because I don't like candela. It's just the other cigars are just so good.
Yeah.
I'm always reaching for the Initiatory.
And for me, it's the Desserate, the honeybee.
Yeah.
That too.
That's my go-to out of his line. And, you know, yeah, we're friends with him, but dude, he makes some killer cigars.
And by the way, happy belated birthday, Brandon.
Happy birthday.
Salute.
Yeah. Cheers to you, my friend. Congratulations on another successful release. This is fantastic.
All right, not that I'm giving you shit, Larry, but the way you're holding the mic right now, it kind of reminds me of those old-timey 1940s news reporters going, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen of America and all the ships at sea.
Well,
Breaking news."
I'm trying to scoot my fat ass closer to the table. I went with the stand mic on the table, honestly, because I was too lazy to get the other one out and set it up and try to figure out how to tighten it so it doesn't swing away from me while I'm talking.
I understand.
And, so yeah, I'm not.
The table mic auto lean back chair combination not working so great. I'm just saying.
So
Who hired this kid?
you did. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to read that article that was sent out. And it's kind of poignant given our trip that we just went on, which we'll get to at a later date. The article that I sent you that I thought would be really interesting for us to talk about is tipping, tipping your server, tipping everything. One, I find it interesting that now they're expecting, I realize inflation is through the ceiling, but the default tip now on most receipts is 20%. What in the hell are they thinking? Number one. And number two, everywhere you go, whether it's, I'm going to Starbucks, not so much Starbucks, but I'm going to, independent coffee house or anything like that, it pops up for a tip. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Okay, let's answer the first part of that first. They have specifically designed this stuff with the auto tip default being where it is because we have dumbed society down to a level that we've been trained like the rat in the maze just to press the button when the button pops up, number one. Number two, we have an entire society full of people that can't tell you what 15% of $78 is.
True.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it at gunpoint. So they're taking advantage of that.
Well, see, part of the reason that, a lot of and I don't want to pick on them, but the younger generation can't count, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's some yippy-dippy educator's fault when they decide to go to Common Core math and not basic arithmetic.
True.
Just kind of human calculator kind of stuff. Because when we came up, it was all about, moving a decimal point. You knew what the tens, ones, hundreds, thousands were, and you could move the decimal accordingly. So 10% is just a matter of just moving a decimal over and working it in your head.
Right.
But we haven't trained kids for that. We got some yippy-dippy Common Core crap that they've learned that, when kids would bring their homework home to their parents, they're sitting there scratching their heads going, what do you mean? What the hell is this?
1 + 1 does equal 4 somehow.
In the 4 days we were gone, I had to correct someone 3 times on the change that they gave back to me from cash. And your goddamn machine tells you how much to give me back. And you can't count the change out of the drawer to give me back 58 cents.
Yeah, because they're not teaching that anymore.
Well, I don't know whether to be upset or embarrassed by the fact I'm sitting there looking at this person and they're looking at the screen. They know they have to give me $7.58 back because it says so right there. I can see it on my side of the little monitor.
Right.
They had to stop and think about that 58 cents was 2 quarters, a nickel, and 3 pennies.
Well, and
I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
and I work in the service industry as my regular day job. The amount of people that, if the power went out and you were forced to do things by hand, the amount of people that can't count back change, starting with the pennies and moving up to break the bill, is almost non-existent anymore.
Yeah.
Well, see, that problem's been going on since the 90s, because when I was working in a record store back in the early 90s, we had just that happen. Our computers went to crap. So basically, when people would bring stuff up, you add it up, you add the tax, there's the number, and then they give you, they're never giving you exact change.
Right.
So, and then you got to count it back. I mean, I did that for a customer, and one of my employees looked at me like I was calculating the trajectory for the moon landing.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, man. It's, the whole tipping thing in general is odd to me because it's turned into an expectation.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know how much farther this is going to go.
I
had-
look at it that way too,
I had a lady when I was working grocery cashiering say, "Oh, you guys," it was during the pandemic, like, "Oh, you all should put tip jars out because you deserve, people should be allowed to tip you." I'm like, if you think I should be making more money, go knock on that office door and tell the owner to pay me more. That's where I like, no, you do not need to tip your cashier. If you think I'm being underpaid and you want to support me, go bang on that door and tell them to raise the wage. I'm not going to put a tip jar out. That's dumb.
Well, and even then, you look at tipping is for the most part a cultural thing within certain countries, the United States being one of them. You go to Europe,
One of a few.
yes, you go to Europe. It's offensive to tip people in Europe because the price of the meal consists, there's a term for it. It's French. I don't remember what it is, but it basically means the gratuities inside the cost of the meal. So you don't tip. And I just think, one, that would make for a better way to do it. But two, from my personal tipping thing, I kind of look at it this way, and I think I do the same way Larry does. If my service is great, if my glass never gets half empty, if the food comes out, there's no issues and everything, a 20+% tip is no problem for me. It's just the expectation that I have to tip, even if the service is shitty, that's a problem.
Well, we had a situation over the weekend that I think I was the only person that heard it firsthand when we walked into this particular establishment. And it was parties of 8 or more, no split checks, and an 18% gratuity automatically added on. And I've heard that both of those things before. I can't remember the last time I heard both of those together.
Yeah.
But I will go along with that if your service is stellar. It was not.
Yeah.
It was okay to good. It was not great. Now, the food was good, but if you're going to tack on an 18% gratuity right off the top, and we were a party of 10, I don't want you to ask 3 times, 4 times with 10 plates, who had this, who had that.
Right.
Know how to do your goddamn job. That kind of stuff's irritating to me, having come from the restaurant and bar industry. But it's, you know, when does, like the gorilla just said, he doesn't feel that there should be a tip jar on the cashier line. You know, what should we be tipping for and not tipping for now? I don't know. I was at a restaurant or a place to get something to eat where you basically serve yourself. You know, you plug in what you want in the menu board and you stand there and somebody hands you a box. You have to go get your own drink. You have to get your condiments, your napkin, all your stuff. You put your stuff in a bag. That's about it. And the same thing. I paid with an ATM card, and the automatic was 18% tip. Yeah, no.
Right.
You didn't do anything for that 18%. You know, and like Gorilla just said, if that job's not paying you a living wage, then you need to find a better paying job.
Okay, we need to get away from the whole idea of quote unquote living wage for certain things, because a lot of jobs were not designed for a living wage.
100%.
It was basically set up for, this is your entry-level job that you're just getting into the job market. I expect you to move on. I expect the transient population to be running through certain places, and then it's like, okay, either I get the skills for what I really want to do and move on, or I want to move up the ladder in this establishment as in a manager, head cook, or, you know, GM, whatever, if it's like a, you know, chain. But
yeah, fast food was never meant to make a mortgage payment.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that paid.
but to expect it to be able to cover that month's rent, I feel would be reasonable. It's not even doing that anymore.
But see,
I don't know because
Where the fuck am I supposed to live while flipping burgers, Scott?
You got a point.
No, but the problem is we've transitioned past the high school or junior college people working at fast food. Those jobs were never designed for a 40-some-year-old with 2 kids and a mortgage payment.
Right.
That's
No,
not
100%.
That's not what that business model was created for. But that's where we're at now. And what do? We can't dial this back, and everybody's going to bitch if it's $37 for a Happy Meal. So there's no common ground here. It's just, you know, we've let this get too far, and there's not really anything we can do about it now.
Oh
yeah, especially when you have states that are wackadoodle like ours, where they make a law now that fast food workers are paid minimum $20 an hour. Good luck. When my you know, number 3 or number, what is it that we get at McDonald's? Number 7? My 2 cheeseburgers and fries and a drink is going to go from $10 for the meal to now $25 because they have to cover that wage.
In countries where that law already exists, the price of the meal didn't go up. And if
No,
it did, it
the
went
help
up.
went down. They'll automate as much as they can.
Okay.
But
Well, McDonald's is already there because, you know, the one in Rockland, they have that big kiosk that you just push a few buttons and then you go up to the counter.
no, I didn't.
Yeah, over in Rockland at McDonald's, it's basically you go to kiosk. Yeah, kiosk.
Kentucky Fried Chicken was one of the first ones to start doing that because they saw where this was going. And, you know, we see it. If you stop and think about it for a minute, you know, there's a lot less human interaction in your daily purchases than there was even 5 years ago.
True.
You know, it's really hard to check out at a big box store like a Home Depot or a Lowe's with an actual person. They're building those and designing those now where they have 14 self-checkouts and one person manning the register. And, I don't have an hour and 35 minutes to wait for the 17 people that are in line, so I typically end up in the self-checkout line. Grocery stores, Walmart's another good example of that. They got 54 self-checkouts. Now, the older ones still have 37 check stands where there could be a person in the check stand, but there's only 2 of them in there, and one of them is just selling cigarettes. So, I understand the automation and, the labor, cost of labor issues, but,
the human element still needs to be there.
And we've kind of done this to ourselves, though. It's, you want a $7 toaster option and then have the nerve to be upset when 4 months later that toaster craps the bed. You kind of got what you paid for. And
very true.
That's what we're getting, with this self-serve thing. It's, people are taking advantage of the self-checkout. Well, no shit, Batman.
I wasn't trained for this.
But it's not even, some of it's purposefully, I would imagine, some of it's not. But, you can't go to automation to save on labor costs and then be upset that your spillage is more, or your shrink, your loss is more. That's part and parcel to what you're doing. So I don't know. It's we could spend all day on this topic and probably not get anywhere.
True.
But as the older I get, the more I sound like my father. When I was your age, God damn it, life was easier.
The sad part is, and let me ask you a question, Larry. In your domicile, you naturally have a couch in your living room and maybe a love seat. Do you have that one easy chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I. We've evolved into our fathers. I still think of my grandfather with the big chair that you were never, ever supposed to sit in.
Yeah, I get pissed if somebody's in my chair.
Yeah. And what do we do when we get in that easy chair? Start bitching about shit. God help me if the news is on.
And when it comes to a self-checkout thing, I'll typically use a self-checkout because for me it is faster because I've used a point-of-sale system. I know how to look up an onion. Like, most people won't go through the self-checkout if they have you can't do alcohol or anything that requires an ID. But most people, if they buy produce, they won't go to the self-checkout because they don't want to deal with it. I don't give a fuck. I'm in the self-checkout and out in 2 minutes because fuck it, I know how to do it.
That's the disadvantage to being a drinker, folks. Because every time I go to the store,
stand in line, will buy alcohol.
Yeah, whether it be Rayleigh's, Safeway, or Costco, it's like, oh, I can go through self-checkout. Look at my freaking basket. It's like 2 bottles of vodka. It's like, fuck.
See, I buy one tall boy every time I go to the grocery store just so somebody has to check my fat ass out.
Well, my belief is 2 is 1, 1 is none, so I'm doubling up.
Everybody's got a program.
Yeah, and at the rate that I drink, it usually works out to about week and a half.
So back on a cigar topic for
Yes.
a minute. I had somebody, I've had a couple people ask me in the last week or two how much I smoke. And I kind of, gave them kind of an answer that didn't make a lot of sense to them. And a lot of it is, what am I doing? Is this a work week? Is this a weekend? Am I in town? Am I out of town? So there's some factors in it. But question for all you guys. In an average 7-day week, just with the average stuff you got going on, work, around the house on the weekend, whatever, if you had to break it down to a weekly average, how many cigars do you smoke a week?
Between, I would say, 15 to 21, only because I'm figuring about 2 or 3 a day.
Okay.
So,
Now, is that maybe 2 a day during the week and 3 to 4 a day on the weekends, or is that pretty consistent, 3 a day, 7 days a week?
I usually say consistent because when I'm up in the morning, Puppy does her thing. And see, Puppy's programmed now. After she eats and does her thing outside, I go upstairs. She hears the humidor open. She knows what time it is. She comes up to me, sits. I grab a cigar. She runs with me to the office, to the balcony, sit back, and she plops down and suns on the balcony as I smoke.
Sounds to me like you're programmed as much as a dog.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, of course, about 5 or 10 minutes into the smoke, she sits up. And yeah, my dog talks to me like frickin' Lassie. I'll look at her and be like, you done sunning? And she'll look. I say, you want to go see Mama? And she'd be like, bark, 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 bark. I was like, okay, up we go. Off you go.
He's not joking, folks.
Nope, that's the truth.
Greg, where are you at?
I would say probably a little less than that. I would say around probably 7 to 15. It depends on the week, but average at least one a day. Days that we all get together, it's 2 or 3. Days that like our regular Thursday at the shop, it could be 3 to 4. So it really just depends on what the week holds for me. But average is 7, one a day at least. On the weekends, sometimes 2 or 3. It just depends.
Yeah, I figure I'm probably in the 12 to 15 range, because I'm probably an average of 2 a day. I smoke at least one every day. I smoke every morning, and then, depending on what's going on in the evening, I'll have one. Weekends, it kind of depends on what's going on. If I'm around the house and we have property, so there's always stuff to be done. I mean, it could be 4 to 6 depending on what's going on. If it's an up early and I gotta make a run to the dump, and it's one there, one when I get back, one after lunch, one before dinner, one after dinner. So yeah, it moves, and it kind of depends on what you're smoking too. If you pull a double Maduro out of the humidor after lunch, that might be the last cigar of the day, depending on what you got going on.
That's entirely true.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, all those factors don't make a lot of sense to non-cigar smokers, but more so to cigar smokers. Gorilla, same question for you. Now, budget restrictions.
One
a week?
or less.
Really?
That is, yeah, dead serious. The most cigars I've bought at one time in the last 3 years was the afternoon of the get-together over at Greg's house. I do not have the socioeconomic capability to... 99% of the cigars I've smoked over the last 2 years were the one I smoked while recording this show. I don't even keep my humidor humidified. I don't have a reason to at this point.
Shut your dirty whore mouth. You don't keep your humidor humidified?
There's nothing in it. I'm not spending $12 a month that I could be spending on the one cigar I'm going to smoke to keep it humidified with the Bovita pack. It doesn't make sense at that point, Scott.
No, I get it. I get it. It just sounds like the road to ruin, but I understand your reasoning. I get it.
That and the times I would smoke a cigar are times when I'm typically working at a computer, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, when you're working at a computer and you can't hold the cigar all the time, you end up with a bunch of half-smoked cigars that you look over and go, fuck, I lit that 4 hours ago and forgot it was sitting there because I got engrossed in whatever I was working on.
That has never happened to me. Even when I was working and I'd opened up the French doors on the balcony and I'd be sitting at my desk and I'd have my cigar, I don't forget about it. Because
add to that, I have minimum 1, sometimes 2 days a week I will not smoke.
Oh.
Because on Tuesdays when I have a scout meeting, and I'm breaking that rule today because I have a scout thing I'm going to right after we're done recording, I will not go to a scout event smelling of cigar smoke.
I can understand and respect that.
Seems legit.
Yeah. As you say, everyone has a program.
Between socioeconomic and just logistics, I guess, it is 1 a week would be a generous estimate.
Hey, I can dig it.
All right.
Me too.
I was unprepared for that number, but all right. I understand the reasoning behind it. How are we doing on these?
Okay, we're about midway through this, and exactly what I expect from Apostate. It is a consistent smoke. Anything in their line stays consistent, no matter how much heat is going up the shaft of the cigar. It's still consistent flavor, wonderful smoke. I don't get any alterations in the flavor of the cigar. Now, I've noticed in some cigars, and I've spoken to this before, where, it gets warmer, and as you're going, down to the nub, by the time you get there or halfway through, the profile changes a little bit, sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, it's, just a testament to the construction of this cigar, that the fact that the flavor is so consistent, that you don't have a whole bunch of heat going up through it. You just got nice, clean smoke.
Yeah, this is a really nice draw on this. And just very flavorful.
Yes.
Great job. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to rolling this through the rotation semi-regularly.
Oh, yeah. I'm already there, brother.
And that, I think, when you look at it, one of the things that impresses me most, aside from, the flavor profile, which is perfect, the draw is consistent. I've now smoked, this is my third one of the Zarahemla. The draw has been consistent every time. It's not tight. It's not too loose. It's perfect. It makes a really good flavor profile.
Let me ask a question on the box press. Do you notice that you get more smoke through the box pressed than, your normal rolls?
In some cases, yes. This one, I would say no. I notice when we go into the topic where Larry was earlier, where it's a little bit too loose, and I tend to get a lot more smoke at that point because you're getting way more airflow through it, but I also tend to burn through the cigar then faster, and it ruins the experience. In this case, not so much for me. It's pretty consistent, and it's also the volume I like.
And box press, I think, is a lot easier to screw up when you cut it. Like I said earlier, I goofed up the one on Saturday, I think is when we smoked these, because all I had was a V cutter, and I kind of off-centered V cut it, so it was kind of gnawed up to begin with.
Yeah.
And then we were half a bag in as far as drinking goes, so that didn't help
yeah,
the whole process. So but it's, you got to be a little more careful with a box press, and know what you're dealing with. If it's a softer feel to it than a cutter like Greg uses, that's not an open cutter that has a back, pretty much guarantee that you're going to get a flat, even cut on it. I have an open cutter here, a regular cutter that's open, so you have to be a little bit more careful that you don't get too far down it.
Right.
Or it's almost worth kind of scoring it a little bit, going around.
Yeah.
Because if you start on the wide side of the box, I've noticed that it's easier to crush the end than if you turn it and do the narrow side and go that way. So, yeah, it's a little more work to get one cut where you're gonna get a good draw out of it. So,
well, here's the thing, and this comes along with accessories as far as the cutter's concerned, because I've crushed the ends of cigars with cutters I've had that are significantly older, because I'm not buying a cutter every 6 months. I'm trying not to do that, especially nowadays. But and you've got to do that slight little bit of scoring in order to get the cut through. But even then, you're mushing down on that end. So now I'm kind of in the search for a cutter that you can sharpen yourself, or a self-sharpening cutter, because I have not had much luck at all in that regard. New cutters work awesome, but once age comes into the picture, you can just see it when you're cutting it. It's like just, it's mashing that down, and it's like, ugh.
honestly, I think my best cut for a box press is a small punch.
Yeah, I want to try that. I don't think I've tried that with a box pressed.
What's that cheap lighter that we're seeing at a lot of the? It's not this one. It's not the Jet Line. It's the other one.
Vector?
Vector. Those have a small punch typically built in the bottom of those.
Okay.
That's about the right size.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's a little bigger. Yeah, that might hold that up to that might be a little big for this box press.
Okay, I've got 2 on this Lotus.
Yeah, you're right. It's a little big, Larry.
The smaller one on Scott's Lotus, I think, would be a good punch for that. But it's the same thing. You got to be. I've noticed. I've got quite a few lighters that have a punch on them. Those, for whatever reason, don't seem to hold up as well as the regular cylinder punch. And I don't know if it's going in and out of your pocket. It's not like the punch is rubbing up against stuff. It's concealed in the lighter itself. But I haven't had a lot of luck long term with punches on lighters. But a punch works pretty good.
Yeah.
For the box press.
No, but with the short trip to Grandma's house with regards to this cigar, magnificent.
Absolutely.
Yep. No, it's an excellent blend, and it's kind of a unique blend. I haven't. They put a lot of different things together in this. And,
yes.
When Greg was first reading it off, I was like, I didn't realize smoking the first couple of these how varied the tobacco was in this, but it's put together beautifully. It creates a great flavored cigar. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, flavor is wonderful. What are your thoughts, Greg?
I really can't add much to that. There's a reason why I smoke Brandon's product frequently. It's just that good, and
right on.
It's in the forefront of my rotation, probably like the two of you, is very large of the brands I bounce around to smoke through. There's a reason why he's in the front and is one of my go-tos when I don't know what I want today. I'm going to an Apostate. Typically it's a Deseret because it's consistent. They're beautiful. They're perfectly constructed and their flavors can't be beat. So, buy Apostate, buy lots of them.
Yeah, well, and some days you don't want to take a chance. You're not looking to roll the dice. It's
right.
Like, hey, this is I got a big day. I got to focus. I don't want to have to fight on keeping something lit, relighting it. Am I going to have a crappy draw? Let's just go to a tried and true, something that we've smoked a bunch of times. We know it's going to be good.
Oh, no doubt.
And that's definitely every cigar in their line falls into that category for me.
Yes.
And Scott brought up the Feathered Serpent earlier, and I'm probably once a week on a Feathered Serpent. I love that cigar. I'm kind of a Candela guy to begin with. Now that there's some Candelas out there that are worth smoking. So yeah, that's definitely one again. And I've said it before. If you haven't tried one, don't shy away from it just because it's a green cigar.
Yes.
You're going to be pleasantly surprised at how good a cigar that is.
No doubt. No doubt. Hey, Gorilla, got any final notes for us?
I have a couple final notes actually.
Oh, well.
On the cigar itself, agree with everything you guys said. It's fantastic smoke. I know I bring this up every time with Apostate. Same as all their other cigars, the banding and packaging is lovely. And I love that. I think they mentioned this on the episode we did with them a while back, that when it came to a cigar representing each of the symbols on their label, they said they wanted to make this one a box press, like the bricks of the temple. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, God, I love... It seems like such a dumb way to choose how you're going to do a cigar, but I love it. I love, like, the Feathered Serpent is green for the serpent and all this other stuff. I love that kind of stuff, man. It makes me smile. It means someone went, okay, this is what we want the cigar to taste like, but they put more... It shows me that this product has a lot of love and thought and passion behind it. And I love that, especially this mysterious other one that I've been wanting to smoke for a month and a half.
Just smoke
Go
it.
ahead and
Just
smoke
smoke
it.
it.
I'll get
Because
you
We'll
another
find
one.
another
because
one.
there are more at a reputable business just down the street.
Excellent. In other notes, I do have a couple things I wanted to point out real quick. Since
to
I
me.
have listened to you guys at 2 times speed for the last 2 weeks.
You poor
some,
bastard.
Some overall podcast trends and notes I wanted to hit on. Firstly, Candelas. The fact that you just said I'm a Candela guy shocks and surprises me, because for about the first half of this podcast, whenever Candelas got brought up, there was a collective vibe.
Okay.
But as you got further on into the podcast, when the 2012 came out, when the Mr. Red
Yep.
Yeah.
from Sinestro?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm remembering correctly. And then when the Feathered Serpent came out, there's you guys collectively, but especially you, Dad, did a complete 180,
Well, and
which I thought was interesting to again listen to.
because that started out with the 2012 was the first Candela product that I felt didn't taste like lawn clippings. Now, and I'm not putting down anybody. There's a couple other Candelas out there right now that I've tried since smoking the 2012, the Mr. Red, that I hadn't necessarily tried before, that are pretty good Candelas. But the evolution of that type of cigar drastically changed at that point when those two came out, especially. And then the Feathered Serpent just took the Candelas to another level, I think. So
Excellent.
That's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to ask him what his next one was. He's got more than one, but go ahead.
No, I just had a quick note. That's evidence of the evolution of a cigar smoker, because you're talking about 2 years ago. We have been doing this for 4 years. So, in the first part of that 4 years, Candelas were, like you said, some of them you found to be lawn clippings. One in particular that I really liked before the 2012 was Illusion. I thought they did Candelas really, really well. Your brother, every time we go to Famari out in Reno, we bring him back a couple of Candelas.
Yes.
From.
Well, but here's the problem with that.
Talk to me.
Take Fumari out of the picture.
Okay, we're taking Fumari out of the picture.
Because you can get any Illusion at Fumari.
Yes,
Where else have you seen an Illusion Candela?
I haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I haven't.
And that's one of the ones that I was talking about. That's a good Candela. But nobody knows it's a good Candela because you can't find the son of a bitch anywhere. Fuente has a good Candela, but I've seen it in 3 shops that I could name right now.
Yeah,
That's it. And one of them's right down the street.
yeah.
And all 3 of the shops that I've seen it in, they're not promoted. They're on the shelf. But if you ask them, you ask the proprietor or whoever happens to be working there, Candela's not a go-to for 99% of the people out there, I feel.
Yeah.
So, hey, what's this? It's a green, And I specifically asked at a shop in Southern California because I saw that Candela, and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, hey, what do you think of this? I don't like it. And that was it. I mean, the guy steered me. Not only did he steer me away from a Candela, he basically steered me away from Fuente altogether when I brought up Candela.
Really?
I was like, wow, that's weird.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, 100%. The evolution of the cigars themselves has changed over the last few years, and the evolution of the smoker, being me, has changed as well.
Absolutely.
What's your next one, Gorilla?
On probably a similar answer, early in the podcast, there was even a specific episode titled Reviewing the Reviewers. There was much more hesitancy at the beginning of the podcast to name flavor notes, whereas now, I think even Roy commented on the 99th episode on YouTube, oh my God, Larry had flavor note comparisons. What is the world coming to? So I've noticed, listening through all the episodes, the willingness to go from saying it tastes like a cigar to actually saying, no, I get this out of it, get this out of it. That trend seemed to go up as the podcast went on. I thought that was interesting also. I don't know if that's you guys are just willing to say that more because you're tasting a bunch of different cigars, or
Well-
if that's because you have more cigars to sample, so you're comparing and contrasting.
I think that's because since we were smoking so many cigars, you can't get. I mean, when you're doing a cigar podcast or a cigar review, you gotta give, like wine, you have to provide a point of reference. If you don't, if you just say it just tastes like a cigar, what the fuck good are you? You know, what's the difference between a good cigar and a bad cigar? You can't do like porn and say, I don't know exactly what porn is, but I know it when I see it. You can't apply that principle to cigars because everything has a certain taste to it.
This is
I don't
why
know-
we.
I don't know
This
how
is
you're
why
gonna
we
edit
need.
that,
This
but-
is why we need Gorilla Cam to see his look on his face.
No, I'm being absolutely
But no,
serious.
It took me a second. I'm like, I
point-
understand what he's saying. I
Point
don't know why
of
that's the
reference is what
analogy.
I'm saying.
And
But see, I put it in a language that everyone understood. Even though you rolled your eyes, it was put in a term that you can understand.
But I think that also goes to show too that it's also a palate evolution for all three of us, and it's not necessarily. We talked about this back somewhere also too. It's not necessarily flavor notes that we taste, but it's more of aromas and flavors that we remember and associate with that cigar.
Sure.
Well, and let me bounce a question back towards you since you listened to all this stuff. Would you say that we're, like Scott said, giving more of a point of reference? Because some of the stuff, and we've joked about it on the show and joked about it sitting around the lounge. Some of the stuff you hear in reviews is just ridiculous.
Oh, no, 100%.
It's orange peel and yellow rose petal.
Yeah.
I don't think we're getting there.
Who's
but-
going around tasting yellow rose petals to compare the flavor?
Well, but that's what I mean, though. It's okay. You know, are you saying that just to be different? Just to, you know,
Just to sound like a sommelier.
I've tried to be real careful with how I describe something because I don't really know what those descriptors are supposed to be.
Sure.
Earthy and kind of cedary on this cigar is about as far as I'm willing to go. I don't think it has a dark chocolate note or a, you know, lemon pepper note. I that's not, you know, nothing's coming up for me like that. It's not forcing me to remember something that's lemon pepper chicken.
Yeah.
You know, there's just nothing like that. So
Sure.
that to say something like that is contrary to what we're doing here as far as smoking the cigar or any cigar for that matter.
Yeah, the point is, it's just simple points of references. You know what creamy tastes like. You know what pepper tastes like. You know what, you know, a little woodsy campfire. Very simple points of reference. I'm not going to sit here and get complicated with, as we used to joke,
Lamb, banana, and raccoon.
Exactly.
What else you got?
And finally, I am happy to report congratulations to Scott. His trend line for drinking has stayed very consistent across all episodes of the podcast. I don't know if
As
that's
if there
a
was
good
any
thing
doubt.
or a bad thing.
That's nice.
At super high?
Yes,
Or were we
mostly yes.
Well, there was that stint with the coffee. I think.
Oh,
it was
God,
about
that
3 or
episode
4
was hilarious.
I think it was about 2 to 4 episodes. I had this trend of coming in because it was the morning, and I'd have coffee, not just coffee.
8-shot espresso.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that fucking first episode with your 8-shot. So here we are, and we're gonna smoke a cigar, and it's fucking fabulous. And I want you to smoke it with me. It's gonna be fucking fabulous for you too. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with Scott today?
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, and then you know, and then I get a whiff of this coffee. It's like, holy Christ, you know,
High octane jet fuel.
yeah. I mean, Christ, you know, we can prime a carburetor with this shit. But,
Bloody love it.
oh yeah, that was a good one.
Well,
Okay, so
I think too, one more thing that you're probably not factoring in, dude. You joining the show was also been one of the best decisions we ever made because your commentary, your insights, they've just
won't-
added.
I'm gonna be real honest. I got to a certain number in the episodes, listening back, and I'm like, I remember this era. this is about the time I'm like, I think I'm gonna
fuck
reach
with
out
these
to
guys.
these guys. I got to a couple of episodes where I'm like, ooh, I forgot these episodes existed. But chaos and bedlam. But
Welcome to Behind the Podcast.
On Beyond the Humidor.
But anyway, that's all I got.
All right.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we covered everything. So, Gorilla, take me home. All right. This lovely cigar is getting close to the nub. The glass is almost empty, but I'm going to fill it again because I'm doing something else after this. So, I think it's about that time. Want to thank everybody for hanging in there. Again, I can't say it enough. I appreciate, you out there sticking with Beyond the Humidor, listening to us have fun, talk shit, smoke cigars, drink alcohol, and looking forward to the compilation that will be coming up in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that, and I want to thank you for listening. Check us out at LunaCigarCartel.com. Like and share us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Don't be a stranger. You got something to say? Hey, drop us a note. Let us know you're out there. info@LunaCigarCartel.com. I'm Scott Robinson, and on behalf of all of us here at Beyond the Humidor, we look forward to chatting with you on the next episode. But until then, hey, stay healthy and safe, people. And like I always say, good smoke, good drink, and good life. And also, tune in every Wednesday for the Beyond the Humidor After Dark.